If you're starting out, immerse yourself in every aspect of the e-com ecosystem as possible. Have that holistic view, get exposure to all of the different moving parts, because within that will be your opportunity of where you can understand the wider e-com infrastructure and identify your strengths and where you want to specialize in, because I'm sure your interests will be piqued once you kind of turn over the stone and look at something and do a bit more fact-finding in a particular area. Having that level or that foundation of understanding, if you have that holistic view to begin with, that will be your future friend when you're looking to specialize. So definitely, I wouldn't say necessarily take your time, because as we know, e-com moves so quickly and apps are so frequent in being released.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives, a podcast by Noibu, where we explore the elite strategies and cutting-edge insights with our expert guests. Get ready to propel your e-commerce business to the next level.
Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Toolbox Experts Perspective. Joining us today, we have a digital and e-com manager and a digital expert in Ash Pallett. Welcome, Ash.
Hi, Kailin. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. As you can probably hear, my sincere condolences for England losing the Euro Cup finals. To all the football fans listening, we chatted about it a bit before, but she's over by now and we're onwards and upwards. So I wanted to start off by learning a bit more about your background and how you ended up heading up e-com and digital at Sarah Raven.
Sure. Thanks, Kailin. First of all, pleasure to be invited on to the Noibu podcast. So thank you very much for having me. So I'm just going to roll it back to when I was back at college. It was actually when I had my first kind of, exposure to websites. One of the assignments that I was handed was building my own. So learned kind of from the ground up. And that was really, where I caught the bug. Then fast forward into kind of my first full-time role. I didn't go to university because I thought I'd have a bit of a break, see what was out there. Landed my first full-time role working for a handicraft business. And it was just the founder and I. So again, really good kind of foundations. I was everything from customer services, finance, quality control, marketing, PR, etc. Literally from the dining room in her house. So looking back, being 18, as I said, great foundation. And then from there, I moved on to a brand manager for a chain of aesthetic clinics. So looked to establish their e-com store from the ground up. That was to essentially supplement their in-clinic treatments. So skincare at home that you could follow on after you've been to the clinic. And that was really my first taste of a wider e-com ecosystem. So from everything from ESPs, ERPs, and then kind of more recently from there, I moved into Furniture Land, launching their American website. And then for the last 8 years, I've been at Sarah Raven as their e-com manager. So yeah, quite a varied, cycle of roles, but really good exposure and great learning opportunities as well along the way.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It seems like everyone I interview always starts off with I didn't study for e-com and I kind of ended up in it when I took a job, and it kind of just compounds over time. So it's really cool to hear that. And obviously you've held different roles at Sarah Raven over the last 8 years. Maybe talk to us about your current role. I mentioned your title earlier up, kind of being a senior digital e-com manager. Maybe talk to us a bit about what that actually means.
Yeah, so at Sarah Raven, we're a pretty lean team supporting a 20 million plus business. So being that smaller team, my role varies considerably, but main points of focus, conversion rate optimization, so CRO, mitigating friction points in our customers' journeys, supporting really the innovation and the growth of the business. So what does the roadmap look like? Where are we taking it to the next level? And for us as well, should I say the torchbearer when it comes to thinking digital first in what has traditionally been a print first direct to consumer business. So I'd say my role is covers kind of lots of silos and definitely kind of pushing that innovation and that evolution forward for the brand.
That's great. A couple of years ago, you were part of a big replatforming project at Sarah Raven where you guys ended up on BigCommerce. Maybe talk to me a bit about why you guys made that choice and how that's been going since.
So yeah, absolutely right. A few years now that we've been partnered with BigCom. At the time that we decided to make that move, our incumbent agency they'd built their own proprietary system that we were on and had been on for about 7 years. So they had approached us looking to change their services and pivot completely towards a Shopify Plus agency. We had been talking around kind of the sidelines, but never really nailed the conversation around where do we go next? Is it something we need to consider? It's a massive kind of wider conversation piece internally by getting all the buy-in from stakeholders, the board, the level of investment. So that conversation with our SI at the time really acted as that catalyst to push us into, okay, now we need to knuckle down. Let's have a look at the market, what's moving, what isn't, contact lots of our different social networks. Really kind of started on a bit of a fact-finding mission. I've been on that platform for about 7 years, so it really was quite a significant kind of, should I say, project of magnitude that took a lot of consideration, a lot of due diligence, and yeah, proud to say that we've been on BigCom now, come just past our 3rd anniversary.
Love it. Sounds really cool. Maybe talk to us a bit about that cumbersome process of scoping a project as big as a replatforming and effectively why you guys made that decision. And yeah, maybe even some of the challenges that you guys had along that road.
Yeah, sure. So telling the listeners a little bit about Sarah Raven, we aren't a standard out of the box ecom retailer. We are a premium gardening brand selling plants, bulbs, seeds, kit. We have, shall I say, quite a complicated product setup when it comes to perishable goods. So fulfilling orders, when we're relying on nurturing the product, managing the expectation of our customer from fulfillment, surfacing delivery times. If there's crop failure, what does that look like? So there was lots of different moving parts to this. And so the process overall, end to end, was about 13 months in total. But I'm just going to break it down. These are kind of what I'd say are my 4 key stages. Why the replatform, the process we kind of went through, and potentially some of the challenges that we saw as we went through. So I'll cover each one in turn, but due diligence, definitely the first one. RFP, tendering process, really important. Reference calls, and then going on to discovery. So the initial due diligence, super important. I needed to do my own fact finding if I was going to be the project lead on this internally. So initially, we needed to get the buy-in from the business, talk to different departments, what were their pain points, what did they feel was potentially a friction point, not just from an admin perspective, but for our customers. Really, I guess, understanding the functionality that we needed and using the opportunity to, I guess, have a step change in our opportunity as a business, but also as to what we were serving our customers. So we needed that core functionality to support us on that growth trajectory as a business and in terms of where we wanted to be going. Yeah, really important in terms of just doing that fact finding. Who's out there? What's moving? What's recommended? Because then when you go into other conversations, it's whether it be SIs or whether it be other platforms alike, you can kind of hit the ground running. You get to know the buzzwords, you get to know the jargon a bit more, and you know what type of questions to ask. Moving on to RFP and tendering process, probably feels like, I would say, the most painful part of the process outside of launching. What I would say to you, a tip I'd give you, is the devil is in the detail. Document how you want things to work. Make sure you have data flows of your entire ecosystem. That will be and act as your future friend much further kind of down the process. As Sarah Raven, to help identify those requirements that was needed, I'd say we made ourselves quite strict in following the Moscow rules. What were our must-haves, what were our could-haves, what were our should-haves. That really helped to prioritise our laser focus throughout the whole of that transition piece. And then just moving on quickly. So one of our reference calls was one of our kind of next big, I think, areas to consider. And it was really insightful exercise, and probably one that I don't think gets a lot of credit through or mentioned through different podcasts and different kind of conferences. When you hear about platform migrations, I don't think reference calls are really that considered until kind of really after the event. So I would use the opportunity to speak to clients of the SIs that you're looking to work with, customers of the platforms that you're looking to work with, and ask questions like, what did you compromise on? Where your deadlines adhered to, where your budget's met? If something went wrong, could you escalate it? Did the platform and the SI come together and help solutionize with you if there was a problem? I'm invested in this as a client, and I want to make sure that you get the most bang for your buck, and I'm committed. So therefore, I'm hoping the SI and the platform would be as committed. So asking those kind of painful questions to other references, I think is really cool for you to get a true understanding of who it is you're working with or how potential of working with, and basically how you then move that forward. And then very briefly, discovery. Discovery was really cool for us. Again, the detail continues through to discovery. It's an important part of the whole puzzle piece when it comes to a migration. The RFP, if you've done it right and it's detailed at the beginning and you've captured your requirements, that will really help set the scene for your discovery. And one thing I'd recommend, or something we certainly instilled at Sarah Raven, was having a break clause at the end of discovery. Because if you find that the SI you're working with or you've appointed and the platform you've appointed, for whatever reason, don't work, either they both don't work or one of them just isn't the right fit, this gives you the opportunity to go, okay, guys, look, have that grown-up conversation. You don't want to then find, actually, the fit isn't right when you're 3/4 of the way through the project. Do it at that point, and then you can reassess, take stock, and decide from there where you want to go. So quite a lot of information, quite a few tips in quite a short space of time, but hopefully the listeners will take something out of that and will help for anyone who's looking at migrating.
I think it makes sense. And one thing that we know to be true is regardless of what platform or which SI that you choose, these things are always hard. They're hairy. There's always details that are overlooked at some process. And then comes the big launch day. Maybe talk us through the big launch day and how you guys looked at stabilization and how that's kind of evolved into your view of the website now and how you guys are investing in making it better over time and just looking at stability and things like that.
Yeah, sure. So first question around kind of, I think it's actually a successful launch if it's like a non-dramatic moment, almost like it didn't happen. They're the ones you want to go after because you know that everything's kind of running on time, you know that things have run smoothly, effectively. Whereas if you have this huge ta-da moment or ultimately something's fallen over and you have to kind of gather the troops, something's not gone down that well. So the kind of less of a anticlimax it is on the go live day, the better. To your latter question, kind of moving forward, pressing the fast forward button, what were our challenges? How did we overcome them? I think, should I say, there was probably 2 to 3 main challenges that we kind of stumbled across as we went through that whole process. Again, take them all each one in turn. Design. We went through a total redesign for Sarah Raven as part of the migration piece. Although it was a total kind of lift and shift onto a new platform, it was a total redesign at the same time. So for us as a brand, we pride ourselves so much on look, feel, theatre and drama. You're really buying into the incredible curated collections that Sarah Raven sells and offering you the help in hand as to how you can achieve that and achieve that look in your own garden. So theatre and drama and look and feel really important to us. We found that time was very quickly eaten away when it came even just version 1 of the designs, even the wireframe stage. And I think looking back, I would certainly allocate more time to design. If as a brand, your look and feel is everything to you, I would definitely look to allocate. If you're thinking of allocating, whatever time you're thinking of allocating, double it, triple it, because you know it will pay off dividends later down the line. Although, yes, we do probably compromise on the designs to some degree. The silver lining of that is that it formed an opportunity for us to review that later down the line, which I'll probably touch upon a little bit later as we chat through. But yeah, design definitely one. Testing as well. Again, enormity of the size of the project, the magnitude of it. I think we probably went into it not really understanding the amount of resource needed for testing. So we appointed a third-party agency to help us more so from the data flow side of things, so we could really nail the back-end side of things. And then we could focus, as I said, more so on the front end, the look and feel. So concurrently, we had lots of kind of different silos of the project working together. But having the RFP, the data flow, it all kind of kept the circles back round. Having that information meant we could hand that over to the third-party agency to help that with that data flow piece. And then finally, knowledge. I think, again, it's really underestimated within your team when you're looking to migrate. Once you have launched and once you have migrated, the muscle memory of what you just lost at the platform that you were on before, that's out the window. That's in the past now. You have to leverage all of that knowledge, apply it to a new system. And I think as well, manage expectations internally. Something that used to take 20 minutes to do, might take an hour to do on the new system. Just have patience. And then you've got kind of get everyone on board with you as you go, as you learn. But definitely remember that you will be losing that knowledge when you migrate, because it kind of literally within a split second of you launching, that knowledge is gone and you have to look forward and move forwards on that new platform. So yeah, definitely some challenges, but yeah, 3 years on, we've definitely overcome them, and we're probably witnessing some different challenges along the way, especially navigating a post-COVID world. But all good learnings though, as we went through.
I'm glad to hear. And obviously now that it's been stable, it's been a couple of years now, maybe let's flip this combo into some of your kind of more current CRO activities. Maybe talk to us a bit about the role of personalization. How does that drive conversion for a brand like Sarah Raven? Yeah, maybe talk to us a bit about your high level kind of strategies and your thoughts around that.
Sure. So personalization is definitely a buzzword of the moment. Last maybe 12, 18 months or so, it's certainly growing in popularity. What I would say is, if we take it right back to the start, looking at Google, or very least Google, but taking Google's lead on it, if you're relevant and you're in the right place at the right time, you're going to solve a lot of customers' queries, looking at the levels of intent, just being at the right time, at the right place. The more targeted and the more personalized you can be, the better. And that can come in a myriad of different forms. So just recently, we've launched a personalized product bundling app on our PDPs. And by that, I mean essentially showcasing customers through really what I think is a simple UI, but whatever customers bought, what went well with, almost like a cross-sell opportunity. But the UI is so simple that you're not disrupting that customer's journey. Customers can really simply add to basket within that same PDP. They're not taking off elsewhere. So to be able to add to cart in a really simple, effective, kind of one-click manner has kind of paid dividends to us. So if we just want to call out, I'm sure some listeners will like a good stat. So in Q1, when we launched that personalization of product bundling, the results have driven £250,000 worth of incremental sales. So if that helps in terms of why personalization, I think if you do it right, if you're relevant and in the right time at the right place, I think it will absolutely evolve your brand and drive those sales that you're after.
That makes sense. And how do you think this is going to interchange with what we're seeing in AI? Do you expect that to be kind of built into some of the tools that you guys are using? Yeah, I'm curious, how do you think AI could really kind of help increase the productivity coming from personalization?
So I think AI, again, certainly has its place. I think it can come with its own caveats, like AI is not 100% trust yet. But when you're looking at, like I mentioned before, probably quite a lean team, AI-driven content is where it's at. And if you can overlay that AI with a level of sophistication, such as customer segmentation, customer insights, customer behavior, that's when I think it gets really exciting. Again, going back to the relevancy and being in the right place at the right time, showing the right content, it's a really powerful tool. And for us at Sarah Raven, that means the resource that would typically be spent on things, let's take an example. So cat merchandising, we used to be able to essentially manually pin products at the top of pages. Whereas now we've recently onboarded with a new partner to make that AI driven, to take on board the customer behavior, take on board the sales data, what's driving these sales, optimize it with best converting products at the top, or look at the slow moving lines, for example, kind of driving that narrative for the customers. We've certainly seen that resource element really come into play, and where our employees have been able to repivot their time and reallocate their time is looking at the data, not looking at just the why, but looking at the what. So then we can really take that and then evolve the AI even more, look at what it's telling us, how are customers behaving, how are they interacting, how can we use that to our advantage to then, is it that actually we need to invest in more of a particular product, or we need to buy in more of a specific range? Or is it actually, the learning is people just don't buy into that particular product, let's demote it, let's push something else in. So it really gives us the opportunity to harness time better. When a lot of us, we're time poor, we're busy, we've all got things to be cracking on with. So I think AI definitely has its place. And if you can as I said, overlay with more elements of sophistication, I think the more return you're going to see on those investments that you aim for as a business.
Love it. Cool. Ash, as we look to wrap up, any parting words for anyone who's kind of maybe newer in their career, they're just starting out in e-com for the first time? Curious, any kind of parting words of wisdom from your side?
In a very short, sweet answer, I'd say go for it. In terms of kind of top tips and given my experience, I would say if you're starting out, immerse yourself in every aspect of the e-com ecosystem as possible. Have that holistic view, get exposure to all of the different moving parts, because within that will be your opportunity of where you can understand the wider e-com infrastructure and identify your strengths and where you want to specialize in, because I'm sure your interests will be piqued once you kind of turn over the stone and look at something and do a bit more fact finding in a particular area. Having that level or that foundation of understanding, if you have that holistic view to begin with, that will be your future friend when you're looking to specialize. So definitely, I wouldn't say necessarily take your time, because as we know, e-com moves so quickly and apps are so frequent in being released. But the core fundamentals, I'd say, immerse yourself in it, get to grips with it, and then you can start to kind of really have laser focus on the area in particular that you want to focus on. And I think that's probably the advice I'd give.
Cool. Love it. Thanks again, Ash. This has been a really, really amazing episode. So thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, Kailin. Enjoyed it.
The Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.